What are you
get
talking
triggered
about?
by the Slide for Vaughn comments. They be saying Slide for Vaughn. I think they trolling me.
For some reason, I just don't see them comments no more.
Cameras captured the after.
A new development in the ongoing legal saga surrounding Chicago rapper Durk has added fresh complexity to a high-profile case that has captured national attention. According to multiple reports, a previously unidentified informant has come forward, claiming that Durk allegedly financed an attempted attack on fellow rapper Quando Rondo at a gas station in Georgia in 2021. The informant reportedly provided detailed testimony, including specifics about the timing of the alleged incident and the individuals involved, which federal investigators are now reviewing as part of their ongoing inquiry. Authorities have indicated that they possess surveillance footage and corroborating witness statements, which they believe strengthen the claims of Durk's involvement. Interestingly, investigators are reportedly aligning the timing of the gas station incident with the release of one of Durk's songs, though they are not relying on the lyrics themselves as direct evidence of criminal intent. In the track, Durk raps, "They on my page like Slide for Vaughn, I know they trolling me," which references the online pressure and trolling that followed the death of King Von, a close associate and friend. While some might see a link between the lyrical content and the alleged events, the prosecution appears to be using the song primarily to establish a timeline rather than as a literal confession. On a podcast with DJ Academics, Durk addressed this period, reflecting on the viral Slide for Vaughn comments and admitting he no longer notices them, humorously attributing the shift to "might be the water." His remarks suggest a detachment from the social media frenzy surrounding him, highlighting the difference between his artistic output and his actual involvement in real-world conflicts. Adding another layer to the case, authorities are reportedly attempting to enlist D, an associate linked to the matter, to provide testimony against Durk. Sources indicate that D is actively working to distance himself from the legal proceedings, perhaps recognizing the potential personal and legal consequences of cooperation. This reluctance complicates the prosecution's efforts, as insider testimony can play a pivotal role in federal cases involving allegations of organized or coordinated criminal activity. The combination of surveillance, witness statements, and attempts to secure cooperating testimony illustrates the multifaceted approach federal authorities are taking, one that involves both traditional investigative techniques and strategic use of insider accounts. The emergence of this new informant also reignites broader debates about the intersections of art, reputation, and criminal investigations. Durk's music has long reflected his environment and experiences, which include themes of street life and interpersonal conflict. While some might argue that lyrics and public statements are merely artistic expression, others worry about the potential for real-world implications. In this case, federal authorities appear to be careful in distinguishing between artistic expression and actionable evidence, relying instead on corroborated surveillance and witness accounts. As the investigation unfolds, the legal and cultural stakes remain high. Durk faces intense scrutiny not only from the judicial system but also from fans, media, and peers in the music industry. The situation underscores the precarious balance between personal safety, artistic expression, and legal accountability in cases that straddle the worlds of celebrity, street culture, and federal law enforcement. The coming months are likely to reveal more about the credibility of the new informant, the reliability of witness statements, and the potential outcomes for Durk as the federal investigation continues.
Durk to life by basically saying he's guilty of for hire, and the only thing that, like, yes, some of these things look suspect.
A recently uncovered text exchange has reportedly exposed the identity of the latest informant in the Durk investigation, adding a new layer to an already complex case. Federal prosecutors now allege that Durk ordered hits on certain O-Block members who, in his view, failed to avenge King Von's death. According to the documents, the government intends to present testimony from a key witness who claims Durk personally issued those orders. The files also reference growing internal tensions, highlighting Durk's feud with O-Block member Manaduk, conflict said to stem from Durk's frustration that his crew wasn't taking action in response to Von's passing. WAC 100 reportedly weighed in on the situation, claiming that the snitches turning on Durk are painting a narrative that makes him look guilty of orchestrating hits for hire. He acknowledged that while some of the evidence and messages might raise eyebrows, such as questionable movements and suspicious communications, none of it directly proves Durk gave explicit orders. Still, Wack emphasized that prosecutors already have a cooperating witness, one of 3 individuals allegedly tied to the case, with paperwork suggesting the others discussed how they'd be compensated. Meanwhile, Durk's legal team is pushing hard for his release, marking their 3rd attempt at securing bond. According to statements attributed to Durk's father, this latest hearing felt more balanced than before, with the judge giving fair consideration to both sides. He explained that the judge wasn't biased toward the prosecution or the defense but appeared genuinely committed to the facts, promising to issue a decision in the coming days. Durk's family, friends, and supporters continue to ask for prayers, expressing faith that, inshallah, God willing, we'll receive a ruling in our favor. During the latest court proceedings, Durk's legal team made significant progress by challenging the prosecution's use of his lyrics as evidence, an argument that ultimately led prosecutors to withdraw that material from the case entirely. In a surprising moment, they even read the lyrics aloud in court before officially discarding them, a move that reportedly strengthened Durk's chances of being granted bond. Among the removed lines was one referencing violence. "Told me an op look on the news, see your son screaming no," which prosecutors had previously tied to the case. Meanwhile, authorities continue searching for 3 suspects linked to the shooting of a Savannah rapper and his crew in Los Angeles, an event caught on camera. In a separate interview with DJ Academics, Durk's attorney dismissed the remaining charges as baseless, calling the case against his client a complete joke. Here's how the situation reportedly unfolded. The original indictment didn't mention Durk by name. It listed several others and referred vaguely to an unidentified individual. 3 weeks later, however, prosecutors filed what's known as a first superseding indictment, nearly identical to the original except for one crucial change. The unnamed person was now explicitly identified as Durk Banks. The revised document included only one new allegation, that Durk had released a video allegedly celebrating and profiting from the incident under investigation. Before the judge could issue a ruling, things took an unexpected turn. Federal agents had persuaded Vonnie to cooperate. His prison file was quietly updated, showing he was no longer in Bureau of Prisons custody, suggesting he'd been released to house arrest. Not long after, leaked text messages allegedly from Vonnie revealed details of his plea negotiations. In one message, he explained he was trying to plea out to a 32, referring to the sentencing level for a murder-for-hire charge, calculating potential reductions for cooperation, and a clean record that could lower his time to 5 to 7 years. But the situation grew even more tangled when someone close to him exposed those texts, publicly labeling Vonnie a snitch. Then came an even more shocking twist. Vonnie's own father reportedly began speaking out, accusing his son of being involved in King Von's death and claiming Durk was aware of it all along. The conversation reportedly took a chilling turn when cryptic messages between Durk and Vonnie surfaced. In one exchange, Durk allegedly asked, "Is it open?" To which Vonnie replied, "It's off the hinges." Some interpreted this as coded language, raising suspicions about a possible setup. When pressed on whether this meant Vonnie betrayed King Von, sources close to the situation denied it directly, though the timing and context left many unsettled. According to claims from insiders, investigators believe the payment to Lil Tim occurred either the same day or shortly after that conversation. They also allege that Durk's associates possess records, bank statements, contracts, and text exchanges with attorneys that outline who spoke to authorities and when. The motive, they suggest, could tie back to tension between Durk and Von, both of whom were facing charges for a 2019 shooting in downtown Atlanta. When Von was killed, the case against Durk quietly dissolved in a private settlement, prompting speculation that his death effectively shielded Durk from further prosecution. To some, this paints a complicated picture, one where loyalty, business, and survival collided. As one source put it, you can't bring someone into the game and then watch them surpass you. For many observers, that line captures the uncomfortable question at the heart of the entire controversy. The tension in the narrative deepened when questions arose about loyalty and power. "How you bring me to the table and I pass you up?" One voice asked, capturing the resentment that can fester when success shifts the balance. No one, it seems, wants to lose their position at the top. What made things even more intriguing was the revelation that King Von wasn't contractually tied to Durk at all, despite Durk publicly claiming otherwise. During a past interview, Durk had implied Von was well represented, saying, "You think my man would be sitting here with $300,000 worth of jewelry and not have an attorney?" But insiders later confirmed Von only had a public defender. Then came a viral tweet from Vonnie's father, accusing Durk of orchestrating Von's death, claims that reignited speculation online. Observers also noted a strange pattern. Durk frequently went live on Instagram immediately after high-profile deaths connected to his circle, including King Von, Lil PAB, and FBG Duck. To some fans, this looked like an attempt to establish an alibi. Yet Vonnie's father wasn't finished. He later alleged that his own son, Vonnie, had a hand in both Lil PAB's and King Von's deaths, claiming he'd tried to reach out to Vonnie about it, only to be ignored.
The case is as follows. So there was an indictment that did not name him, right? It named others, and then there was...
At the time, Vonnie was reportedly on a jail-issued tablet when messages were sent, but he wasn't responding, highlighting the limits of communication and control in that environment. The source suggested that the circumstances were almost designed for exposure, saying, "They wanted to get caught. You understand me?" This sentiment tied into the idea of trenches pain, a phrase reflecting the harsh realities of loyalty and betrayal in their world. The narrative around Vonnie allegedly snitching through text messages became a point of contention. One insider clarified that the messages weren't necessarily proof of betrayal, but rather an outline of what Vonnie intended to type. They admitted that some people interpreted it as him turning on associates, saying, "I ain't going to lie," but emphasized that they were often misrepresented. The conversation underscored how quickly intent can be distorted, especially when the stakes are high and the players are navigating complex pressures behind bars. In recent developments, it's not just Vonnie who's allegedly cooperating. Durk's circle faces another breach of loyalty. Ted, the younger brother of FDDA, reportedly became a key informant after being arrested for an unrelated firearm charge. Known as Durk's main enforcer, Ted is believed to have intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the group, making his cooperation potentially explosive. Newly released body cam footage reportedly shows Ted indicating his willingness to provide information against Durk to secure his own release. According to sources, after being taken to the police station with an extended firearm clip in his possession, Ted didn't hesitate to offer testimony, seemingly prepared to shift blame wherever it would benefit him. His prompt willingness to talk left insiders and fellow rappers in shock, with many expressing disbelief, saying, "Please tell me this isn't real." Meanwhile, Durk's legal team responded by submitting updated paperwork to extend his bond proposal, reflecting the mounting pressure and evolving dynamics as new cooperation emerges within his inner circle. Amid the mounting pressure, a sense of cautious optimism remains for Durk. Sources suggest that, despite appearances, his legal team is still exploring avenues to secure his release. Durk recently filed a new motion seeking dismissal of the second superseding indictment, arguing that it's too vague to stand on its own. Should the court deny dismissal, his attorneys are requesting a bill of particulars to clarify critical details, the coded language allegedly used, the specifics of the alleged bounty, and the exact dates, times, and circumstances surrounding it. In the filings, Durk's lawyers are pressing prosecutors to produce any evidence showing that he explicitly offered a bounty against Quando Rondo, essentially demanding transparency and precision before the case moves forward. The motion reflects a strategic effort to challenge ambiguities in the indictment and ensure that any claims against him are clearly substantiated, keeping open the possibility for bond or dismissal even as scrutiny intensifies. Durk's legal team is demanding clarity on the case, insisting they need to know the exact reward he allegedly offered to those involved in the crime, along with the precise date and time of any purported actions. They argue that without these details, the prosecution cannot definitively prove their claims, a standard expectation in most court proceedings, where such evidence would typically have been disclosed by now. Yet, prosecutors have so far resisted providing this information, leaving significant uncertainty. Adding to the complications, Durk reportedly faced a serious setback inside jail. Sources claim he was placed in solitary confinement indefinitely after an officer discovered a cell phone in his cell. The move, described by insiders as excessive and unwarranted, has sparked concern among supporters, portraying him as being punished harshly for what some are calling a minor or fabricated violation. Recent reports have painted a chaotic picture inside Durk's jail situation. Official paperwork claimed he was caught with a cell phone, but sources close to him insist that's inaccurate, suggesting the move is part of a broader effort to keep him in solitary and exert pressure. Some insiders argue it may also be intended as a precaution for his safety, given the volatile environment. Support poured in from peers like Lil Baby, who tweeted, "I don't care about nothing else other than Durk right now. Free the bro," highlighting the concern from the streets. Tensions reportedly escalated following the death of Durk's friend Glee in Chicago, fueling fears that members of his circle are being specifically targeted. The recent killing of Bezu only added to the speculation about revenge motives. Many observers point to Quando Rondo and Lil Tim as potential sources of retaliation, since Durk faces charges tied to the death of their close friend Lil Pab. Notably, Tim and Quando released interviews on the same day Durk was reportedly targeted, further intensifying the public scrutiny and painting a picture of a high-stakes feud with personal and legal entanglements intersecting. Quando Rondo weighed in on the situation, expressing regret over how events unfolded. He emphasized that those involved have families, kids, and a mother who love them, and lamented that the entire conflict could have been resolved differently. In his view, the dispute might have been settled through legitimate channels, such as music or business, potentially even generating revenue, rather than spiraling into violence. On the same day, two of Durk's alleged rivals publicly praised him in interviews and echoed the sentiment that the situation could have been handled more peacefully, a context that arguably undermines claims of coordinated hostility. Despite this, Durk was denied bond, in part due to his placement in solitary confinement. Meanwhile, legal experts argue that much of the evidence prosecutors are relying on could be challenged under the First Amendment, framing it as an issue of protected speech. This raises the possibility that portions of the case might not hold up in court if they infringe on constitutional rights. Durk's legal team and supporters have argued that his lyrics fall squarely under the protection of the First Amendment. In their view, artistic expression, whether in hip-hop, country, pop, or R&B, has long explored themes of conflict and struggle, and just because a rapper references violence doesn't mean those words can be used as evidence of criminal intent. Free speech remains intact, and Durk, like any artist, can create music without it automatically being treated as a blueprint for real-world actions. Despite these arguments, Durk's bid for bond was denied. Reports indicate that federal authorities argued he would need to relinquish all his assets and wealth to mitigate the risk that he could finance further crimes, including alleged bounties on witnesses. Facing a federal murder-for-hire charge, the law presumes that bond is unlikely due to the severity of the offense and the potential life sentence. While his lawyers presented millions in collateral, not all of it came directly from Durk, and the judge noted that his remaining wealth and assets still posed a risk, ultimately leading to the bond denial. Federal authorities reportedly cited concerns about Durk's access to substantial assets if released on bond, arguing that he could use his wealth to flee or interfere with witnesses. A major worry is the potential for retaliation against anyone cooperating with prosecutors. Jam, a former insider, is often highlighted as a cautionary example. After being exposed as a snitch, he disappeared for months, illustrating the real dangers of crossing powerful figures in the scene. Known as F-Jam, he had served 12 years in prison and, upon release, spoke openly in interviews about maintaining honesty while also navigating a complicated environment. Though he initially stayed loyal, he eventually cooperated with authorities in a separate gun case, illustrating how quickly alliances can shift under legal pressure. Authorities use examples like Jam to justify their cautious approach, emphasizing the risks tied to releasing someone with both influence and access to financial resources.